A single text message unraveled 26 years of love, trust, and dreams, exposing a betrayal that would ignite a fire, both literal and figurative, and change my life forever. How far would you go to reclaim your heart after it's been shattered? I'll never forget the moment I first saw Emily. It was a radiant spring day in high school, in the bustling halls of a Boise, Idaho school, where her golden hair shimmered under the sunlight, and her deep blue eyes sparkled with a vibrant energy that stopped me in my tracks. That fleeting glance marked the start of a journey spanning decades. We became inseparable, sharing the thrills of high school dances, late-night talks, and summer jobs flipping burgers or stocking shelves. As we grew into adulthood, our bond deepened, weathering the turbulence of young love with a connection that felt unbreakable. Emily's fiery spirit, her unyielding determination, always left me in awe. By the time we were 16, our friendship had blossomed into something deeper, a love woven from shared dreams, whispered fears, and mutual respect. By graduation, we were already mapping out a future together, hand in hand, hearts entwined. But the past 3 months, particularly the last one, had cast a shadow over us. Emily had been distant, skipping our usual study sessions, her warmth replaced by an unfamiliar chill. Last night's argument left me utterly drained. Known for her fierce temper and grudges that could linger like a storm, Emily was never one to yield. Born Emily Harper, she now went by Emily Thompson, never Em or Emmy. Early in our relationship, I tried calling her Em once, and she made it crystal clear she wasn't a fan. I'm James Thompson, her husband, and we've been together since high school. Dating since we were 16, I learned early to give her space during her fiery outbursts, a pattern that's held for 26 years, 22 of them as husband and wife. Despite her temper, I cherished every part of her. We were each other's first love, sharing our first kiss under a starlit Idaho sky, a moment that felt like the world was ours. Early on, Emily shared her wish to wait until our wedding day to fully give herself to me, a choice I honored with all my heart, deepening our bond. That morning, like countless times before, she murmured, "I love how you make me feel, James." But this time, her words carried a strange weight, lacking the warmth I'd always known. Afterward, I slipped into the shower, needing to be quick to claim it first. As the water cascaded over me, her phrase echoed in my mind. She'd said it so many times, but now it gnawed at me, stirring unease. Our relationship had been strained lately, and I couldn't pinpoint why. Her moods typically passed in a week or 10 days, never dragging on for a whole month. I stepped out, told her the bathroom was hers, and she groaned but shuffled in, her reluctance palpable. In our first year of marriage, we were insatiable for each other, even while juggling demanding jobs, me as a mechanic, her at a retail store in Boise. Those were our lean days, scraping by but rich in love, stealing moments between shifts to dream of a bigger future. I worked as a mechanic until I was about 28, when a local auto parts store owner in Boise, impressed by my car knowledge and knack for connecting with customers, offered me a management position. One night, over beers at a local pub, he laid out a plan. He'd train me to eventually buy his franchise. The deal was straightforward. I'd earn $40,000 a year for 10 years, and he'd save $20,000 annually toward my down payment. We sealed it with a handshake, and I gave 2 weeks' notice to start. The job offered flexibility to attend our kids' soccer, softball, and baseball games, though it meant working nights and weekends. When I shared the news with Emily, she was furious I hadn't discussed it with her first, especially since nothing was in writing. I explained it would let me be more present for our kids, Ethan and Lily, and benefit us in the long run, but she wasn't having it. She shut me out for over a week, her silence colder than any Idaho winter. I prayed my decision wouldn't unravel us, dreading her wrath, which I'd faced on camping trips, birthdays, and family vacations. 8 years later, I was eager to surprise her with how far we'd come. But just 2 years in, the lack of pay raises fueled heated arguments. I urged her to trust me, though trust was never her strong suit. My schedule shifted from a mechanic 7:30 in the morning to 5 in the evening, to a more flexible 9 in the morning to 7 at night, with some weekends. This let me cheer at Ethan's baseball games and Lily's softball practices, but about 2 years ago, I noticed a change in Emily. Her short temper grew sharper, her words cutting deeper, belittling me in ways that bruised my pride and sowed resentment. The past 3 months had been particularly unbearable. Attempts to talk offered brief relief, but the tension always returned, worse than before. Bringing it up now only annoyed her more, casting a pall over our home life. I started preferring the hum of the auto shop to the strain of being home with her. Our business, meanwhile, flourished, expanding to 4 locations with steady commercial growth. Emily, always a relentless worker, returned to work soon after our kids were born and now managed an insurance office in downtown Boise. I knew managing people was stressful, which might explain her edge. When I asked what had changed, she had no answer, just a flare of anger. As I dressed for household chores one crisp morning, I recalled the beauty of the day, a clear Boise sky, but couldn't shake a nagging unease. "I love how you make me feel," she'd said, but the words now felt like a splinter in my mind. That week, her irritability settled back into its usual simmer, like a pot left too long on the stove. On Friday, she came home late, her eyes intense, craving attention in the bedroom. It angered me. "I need you to be there for me," she insisted. "I don't jump on your command," I snapped. "You can take care of yourself." I retreated to Ethan's room to sleep. When I went to grab clothes, I glimpsed a text on her phone from TR. "So, did he make you feel good?" My stomach lurched. "I love how you make me feel," she'd said, emphasizing you, as if comparing me to someone else. She had no one to compare me to, or did she? I rushed to the bathroom, vomiting from the shock. Emily knocked, asking if I was okay. "Nauseous," I muttered. "Need time to think." "Did you eat something bad?" she asked. "Probably," I said, dodging her touch, claiming I didn't want her to get sick. I drove to a nearby Boise grocery store to buy something for my stomach, my mind racing over the past few months, the past 2 years. She must be having an affair. I needed proof, but I didn't have her phone or computer passwords. We'd always respected each other's privacy, a trust now in question. I drove aimlessly around our quiet Boise neighborhood, careful not to stay out too long and raise her suspicion. At the store, I grabbed Pepto-Bismol, Dayquil, and NyQuil, my hands trembling. Back home, I took some and headed straight to Ethan's room. Emily checked in, asking if I felt better. I mumbled something incoherent, undressed, and climbed into bed. When she touched my forehead, saying, "You're not hot," I thought, how could she betray us like this? She offered to make chicken noodle soup, but I refused, fearing I'd throw it up. I didn't trust her and just wanted her to leave. "I'm going to bed," I said. "I'll feel better after some sleep." "Okay, I'll check on you later," she replied, her voice soft but distant as she left. Sleep eluded me. Memories flooded in, our first meeting, our wedding, the births of Ethan and Lily, family vacations, graduations. Nothing explained my suspicions. I needed proof. If she was cheating, I could never forgive her. Lying there, I began to formulate a plan. In the bathroom, I saw her phone on the nightstand. Another message from TR. I made a reservation for Wednesday afternoon. A hotel reservation, I assumed. I decided to take Wednesday afternoon off and follow her. I played sick on Saturday and Sunday, and my schedule on Monday and Tuesday minimized contact with her. We still shared a bed, but there was no warmth, no touch. It's astonishing how love can curdle into repulsion so swiftly. On Wednesday, I left work at noon and drove to her office in downtown Boise. My stomach was in knots. I could barely eat a bite of lunch. I parked where I could see her building but stayed out of sight, my heart pounding. After an hour and a half, doubt crept in. Was the message harmless? At 2:30, her boss left alone, intensifying my uncertainty. 15 minutes later, Emily emerged, her stride purposeful. I followed her to a motel on the edge of town, where she parked next to her boss's car. I stayed hidden, watching as she walked to a room, greeted by Tom with a familiar ease. I snapped a photo as the door closed, my suspicions confirmed. Rage boiled within me. She would pay for this. I drove home, furious, but focused. Lily was at softball practice, giving me time to think. We lived on the outskirts of Boise in a house we'd chosen for its space, to build a 2-car garage with a finished room above. My sanctuary. I'd installed a hoist for working on cars and a bed for nights when I was in the doghouse, as I called it. At home, I moved my clothes and toiletries to the sanctuary, bracing for Emily's return. She arrived at 5:30 and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She asked about Lily. I said she was probably with friends. Emily suggested an evening together, her tone hinting at intimacy. I played along and we went to the bedroom. As she came out of the bathroom, I saw her as the 42-year-old woman she'd become, no longer the girl I'd fallen for. To cope, I closed my eyes, imagining younger women to get through the moment. When I opened the nightstand drawer, she asked what I was doing. Putting on protection, I said calmly, implying I no longer trusted her. She exploded, accusing me of being a failure, of not fighting for raises in 8 years, her words dripping with disdain. She'd lost respect for me. I dressed and headed to the sanctuary, her yells echoing behind me. I called the police, anticipating her rage. She pounded on the door, screaming obscenities. When it grew quiet, I smelled something acrid. Smoke. My workshop was on fire, Emily outside, smirking maliciously. I escaped through a window, twisting my ankle as I jumped. Crawling away, I heard her shout insults until the police arrived. One officer called for a fire truck. Another subdued and handcuffed Emily, who screamed, "Take it away, you idiots! Your precious sanctuary's going to burn!" They put her in the patrol car and asked me what happened. I gave a simplified version of the night's chaos. At the station, Emily was arrested for arson and possible attempted harm. I asked about a restraining order. The officer advised consulting a lawyer. I called mine, who referred me to a criminal defense attorney. The next day, I secured a restraining order barring Emily from coming within 500 feet of our home, my workplace, or me. She stayed in jail until her arraignment. That night, I felt a strange stroke of luck amidst the wreckage. I told Ethan and Lily what happened. Lily, no stranger to her mother's temper, wasn't surprised and hugged me tightly after I apologized for the upheaval. Ethan was livid, but would come around eventually. The next day, I filed for divorce, my heart heavy but resolute. Returning home, I found a police car in the driveway. Emily was collecting her belongings under supervision, likely bailed out with her lover's help. The weekend was spent sifting through the charred remains of my garage. I salvaged some tools, but my diagnostic equipment was destroyed. My insurance agent couldn't confirm coverage since Emily co-owned the property, adding insult to injury. Reflecting on our life, I realized trust was broken beyond repair. Was Tom her first? Had I done something to push her away? Her yelling suggested she no longer respected me. Did Tom belittle me too? I researched Tom Reynolds online. He'd been hired 2 years ago as general manager at Emily's company, coinciding with her shift in behavior. Divorced, with 3 kids, he lived an hour away in Meridian. I planned to call her boss, whom I knew from company events and servicing his car at my shop, on Monday. Sunday night, Emily called, her voice softer, apologetic about the fire. So what? I said coldly. Can I come home? No, I have a restraining order. Mom and Dad bailed me out, she said, irritation creeping in. I'm not thrilled either, I retorted. Can we talk and work it out? She pleaded. There's nothing to work out. James, you know I love you. It's just my temper, she insisted. No, I don't know if you love me. If you did, you wouldn't be sleeping with your boss. That's not true, she protested. What's not true? That I don't know if you love me or that you're with your boss? Both, she snapped. Emily, I saw you at the motel. Don't deny it. She gasped. Why? I pressed. It was a mistake, a one-time thing, she claimed. Nonsense, Emily. I'm tired of your lies. I hung up, shutting off my phone, my heart pounding with anger and hurt. Half an hour later, her father, a second father to me, knocked on my door, his face etched with confusion. What did she tell you? I asked. That you had a fight, and you kicked her out. I shook my head. How'd she explain being in jail? She said she was burning your car repair manuals in the garage, and it got out of hand. I shook my head again. You need to get the truth from her, I urged. Are you going to tell me the truth? He asked, his voice heavy. I don't think you want to hear it, Mr. Harper. Why the formalities? I consider you my son, he said. Because soon we won't have that relationship. You'll probably hate me. Is it really that bad? He asked hesitantly. I nodded, my throat tight. He understood. No father wants to face his daughter's betrayal. He turned and left. Shoulders slumped. A few hours later, he texted, I'm sorry. She must have confessed, and I could only imagine the heated arguments at their house, maybe even a trip to confession. When I called her boss on Monday, he recognized my name immediately. James, how are you? What's up? I'm sorry, sir, but this isn't a pleasant call, I began. Oh, he said, waiting. Emily and I are getting a divorce because she's having an affair with Tom Reynolds. Oh, crap, he replied, stunned. I knew I should have trusted my instincts and checked him out more thoroughly. It's not your fault. They're both adults, I reassured him. James, give me until the end of the week. I can't change the past, but I can address this, he offered. Sir, if you fire Emily, it'll hurt me financially in the divorce. I'd appreciate it if you kept her on. She's always done a great job, so yes, I'll keep her, he agreed. I thanked him, relieved. The divorce papers were served to her at work, discreetly, but she called immediately, starting with, You goddamn jerk! I hung up, my hands shaking with resolve. Being a mechanic, I knew cars inside and out. I'd never used that knowledge maliciously. But Tom's Lexus was about to need a new engine. Friday was a bad day for him. He was late to work because his car broke down, and when he arrived, the owner fired him for unbecoming behavior. Emily called, furious. What did you do? She demanded. What are you talking about? I asked, feigning ignorance. You know exactly what I mean, she snapped. Emily, talk to our lawyers. Don't call me again. She tried calling back, but I ignored her. My anger tempered by a grim satisfaction. My revenge on Tom wasn't complete. I contacted his ex-wife, Sarah, and explained my situation. She was eager to help, her own wounds from Tom's betrayals still fresh. Saturday night, I made reservations at our favorite Boise restaurant and invited Ethan and Lily, knowing Emily, and by extension Tom, would hear about it. There were 4 place settings, so my kids assumed their mom might join us. When Sarah arrived, I introduced her as Tom Reynolds' ex-wife, explaining she wanted to share her story. Over dinner, Sarah recounted her divorce, forgiving Tom once for infidelity but ending it when he cheated again. Trust is the cornerstone of any relationship, she said, her voice steady. Your dad's divorce isn't because he stopped loving your mom, but because trust was shattered. By the end of the meal, we talked openly, the air lighter. Lily admitted she'd suspected something was wrong for a year. After dinner, she asked if I was going home. "I'm asking Sarah to the dance, if she's up for it," I said. Sarah nodded and we danced until 11 at night, the music easing the ache in my heart. I drove her to her hotel but declined her invitation to come inside, feeling it was too soon. We agreed to have breakfast together the next morning. At breakfast, the waitress, Megan, was surprised to see me with someone other than Emily. I introduced Sarah, and we shared a hearty meal, knowing the gossip would spread like wildfire in Boise. Emily found out and called, accusing me of seeing other women. "We're getting a divorce. Your actions won't stop that," I told her firmly. She finally signed the divorce papers after a long talk with her father, who likely urged her to face reality. At Lily's graduation, I saw Emily for the first time since our split. She looked older, thinner, her vibrancy dimmed. "Still seeing Tom's ex?" she asked, implying Sarah and I were an item. "Sarah's amazing," I replied. "Where's Tom?" "He was fired and moved out of state," she said, her voice flat. "You didn't love me enough," I said, walking away as she broke down, her mother calling me an a-hole under her breath. The pain in Emily's eyes lingered, but I couldn't let it pull me back. The following Saturday, we hosted Lily's open house at our home, despite the pending divorce. I lifted the restraining order to allow Emily to organize it, knowing it was important for our daughter. Seeing her in our familiar Boise home, moving through the spaces we'd built together, was a punch to the gut. Sarah had been right. I still loved Emily despite the anger that burned in me. After Lily left with her friends, I was taking out the trash when Emily approached, her voice soft. "Thank you for having the open house here and letting me be part of it," she said. "You'll always be her mother," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "James, can you look at me?" I stopped and met her eyes, still striking despite the weariness. "I'm so sorry for what I did to us," she said, tears spilling over as she fled the room, unable to say more. I wanted to follow, to demand answers, but I stayed rooted, the trash bag heavy in my hand. Months passed, and our divorce moved forward. Last year, Lily received her college acceptance letter, and we took out a second mortgage to cover her tuition and help Ethan launch his own auto repair shop in Boise. We split the meager equity from selling our house with no alimony since our incomes were roughly equal. Emily pleaded guilty to arson, receiving 2 years of probation and mandatory anger management classes, which she attended diligently. When the divorce was finalized, she asked to meet at our favorite Boise restaurant, a place filled with memories of better days. She looked nervous but healthier, her golden hair pulled back, her eyes clearer. Over dinner, she apologized again, her voice breaking as she admitted she'd lost respect for me, seeing Tom as ambitious, while I seemed stagnant in her eyes. She now recognized the sacrifices I'd made for our children and regretted her actions deeply. "Thank you," I said softly. "I'm sorry I didn't live up to your expectations." We parted with a hug, her arms lingering a moment longer than I expected. She offered to be there if I ever needed to talk, but I doubted I'd take her up on it. Driving home under the Boise stars, I called Sarah. "Are you still available?" I asked. "I'm available," she replied warmly. "When can we meet?" "Your place or mine?" "Yours," I said, needing a fresh start. At her place, I laid my heart bare. "Sarah, I really like you. I don't know where this is going, but I'm here for 2 reasons. You're an incredible woman, and I want a bit of revenge. You're my first since Emily's betrayal, and I respect you too much to make you feel used." She smiled, her eyes glinting with understanding. "James, I want you too, and part of me wants to settle the score with Tom's other women. Let's even things out." We headed to the bedroom, our connection fueled by shared defiance and a spark of something deeper. An hour later, I lay there, my mind drifting back to Emily. Her temper, always a force, had grown more volatile over the years, sometimes turning physical, shoving, throwing things. I'm Irish with a temper of my own, but I was raised never to strike back. Instead, I'd retreat to my sanctuary, which probably made her see me as weak, less of a man. When she set fire to that sanctuary with me inside, I realized I couldn't stay in a marriage where I feared for my safety. The betrayal, the shattered trust, forced me to end it. Now, a free man, I wondered if I could ever trust another woman fully. Sarah was about reclaiming my pride, not building a lasting bond. She was wonderful, but a relationship rooted in vengeance couldn't grow into something real. "You're amazing, Sarah," I said, my voice low. "You knew exactly what I needed tonight." "You're incredible, James," she replied, her tone warm. "I can't believe Emily looked elsewhere." I hoped we could continue as friends with benefits, a casual connection to ease the pain. As I left, she kissed me softly. "I hope this continues." "Me too," I said, "but I'm not ready for anything serious yet." Hesitantly, I added, "Can you make sure Tom knows about us? I'll do the same with Emily." She grinned, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "That sounds delightful." I texted Emily, "Call me when you have time, can be Monday, urgent." She called within minutes, her voice hopeful. "Are you taking me up on my offer to talk?" "No," I said, "I'm just exhausted. Sarah's full of energy." Silence followed. Then I heard her count to 10, a sign her anger management classes were having some effect. "I didn't call you, I texted. You could have waited till Monday," I said. "I'm sorry," she replied, her voice softer. "I wanted to discuss Lily's plans. Any vacations I should know about?" "I'll talk to her and call you back," she said. I hoped my nonchalant tone stung, a small jab to mirror my hurt. A week later, Tom showed up at my door, his face red with anger. I called 911 and opened the door. "Stay away from my wife," he shouted. "You mean your ex-wife?" "She kicked you out for cheating," I retorted. "Stay away from Sarah," he growled. "Why should I? She's amazing," I taunted, pushing his buttons. He lunged, swinging wildly. I deflected his first punch, but let the second graze me, enough to show he'd crossed a line. Mechanics are usually in better shape than office workers, and by the time the police arrived, Tom looked worse for wear. They separated us, noted I'd made the call, and put him in the patrol car. I cleaned up and called Sarah to tell her Tom was in jail. "I know," she said, laughing. "He had the nerve to ask me to bail him out." "I'm a bit bruised, but he got the worst of it," I said. "I'll be right over to play nurse," she replied, hanging up. An hour later, she was tending to my bruises, her touch gentle. "I love how you make me feel, James," she said, her words echoing Emily's but carrying a different weight. I wondered if I should slow things down, but decided we'd have a serious talk soon. After lunch at work, Emily called, her voice sharp. "What did you do?" "Well, hi to you too," I said, keeping it light. "You got Tom arrested." "He got himself arrested," I countered. "That's not what he said," she shot back. "So you're taking his word over mine? Sounds about right," I said, sarcasm creeping in. "He's not my lover anymore. That ended over a month ago," she insisted. "Says you," I teased. "Why do you have to be such a bum?" she snapped. "Must have had a good teacher," I replied. "Drop the charges, she pleaded. "He broke into my apartment and attacked me. Why would I?" "Because he'll lose his job and I'm asking you to," she said, her voice breaking. "You're not my wife anymore, Emily. I don't have to do what you say." I hung up, my heart racing but steady in my resolve. Tom was charged with assault and battery, facing at least 90 days in jail, and he'd definitely lose his job. I couldn't help but smile when I heard the news. That Thursday, I found myself at Murphy's, our old Boise bar, a place where the familiar hum of conversation and clink of glasses could soothe a troubled soul. I was at a small pub table nursing a beer when I heard Emily's unmistakable laugh. She was with a group of office friends, about half a dozen of them. She spotted me, her smile faltering, and led her group to a table far from mine. But to get to the bathroom, they had to pass my table. 10 minutes later, 2 women stopped by. "You're Emily's ex, right?" one asked, her eyes curious. I nodded. "I've heard a lot about you," she said with a playful twinkle. I wasn't sure what she'd heard, but I doubted it was flattering. On their way back, both women lingered, flirting openly. One was about 10 years younger, the other 15. Unlike men, they didn't seem to mind chatting up a friend's ex. I flirted back, knowing it would get under Emily's skin. Yes, I was feeling a bit vindictive. As they left, one slipped me her business card, Rachel Evans, with her cell number scrawled on the back. I waited until they were back at their table to look. Emily was watching, her sadness quickly replaced by that familiar fury. I still loved her, but living with her was like sharing a home with an active volcano. Was I better off now? I didn't know. Ignorance is bliss, and I suppose I was in my own kind of bliss. I finished my beer, left a $10 tip for Megan, waved to her, and walked out, avoiding Emily's table to hide the tears welling in my eyes. Late Saturday morning, I dialed Rachel's number from the card. She answered on the third ring, her voice uncertain. "Hello?" "Hi, Rachel, this is James Thompson. We met at Murphy's Thursday night." "Oh, the handsome man sitting alone drinking a beer?" she teased. I blushed, grateful she couldn't see. "Yeah, that was me. Just needed to relax and think. Would you like to talk about those thoughts?" "Tonight?" she suggested. "Sure, how about Murphy's at 7:30? "I'll be there," she said, her voice warm. I was nervous. What would a younger woman see in me? I hadn't dated in over 25 years. I dressed business casual, wanting to make an effort. We hit it off immediately. She was pleasant to talk to and lovely to look at. Once I felt at ease, I asked what had been weighing on me. "You work with Emily, so you've probably heard bad things about me. Why would you want to date me?" "Before she got involved with Tom," she said, "Emily said things about you that intrigued and excited me." She explained that Emily had been socializing with Tom for about a year before I served her the divorce papers, and the affair likely started 3 months earlier. That lined up with the shift in her attitude. "At bachelorette parties," Rachel continued, her eyes intense, "she mentioned being pleased with your performance." I blushed, never expecting Emily to share such intimate details. "Don't be embarrassed," she said with a smile. "If you're as good as she says, you'll be a pleasant adventure." We finished our meal and drinks, and Megan brought the check. I handed her $50, and she smiled, saying, "You better keep this check. You might win a prize." Puzzled, I slipped it into my pocket. As we walked out, Rachel took my hand and whispered, "Now for dessert." I was taken aback. It had been ages since I'd been on a date like this. "Your place or mine?" she asked. "I'll let you decide," I replied, still reeling. "I want to be comfortable," she said. "Let's go to your place. You can tell a lot about a person by how they live." She jumped into my truck, having taken an Uber to the bar, leaving her car behind. I asked if her car would be safe overnight. "Yes," she said. "I planned for this." I felt out of touch with modern dating. But when we got to my place, we rushed to the bedroom, the night blurring into passion. We fell asleep, waking at 10 in the morning. We grabbed lunch at a Boise Chili's, and I drove her home. She made me promise to call for a repeat, and I assured her I would. On the way home, I noticed the check from Murphy's in my wallet. Megan had written her name and number on it. This new reality would take some getting used to. Monday after work, I went back to Murphy's. Megan, closer to my age, was working. We talked for a while, and I asked, "When can we go out?" Her weekends were packed, so we planned a Wednesday date. her day off. As I walked to my truck, my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Hi, James, a female voice said. This is Laura. I met you Thursday at Murphy's with Rachel. Oh, yes, I remember you, I said, smiling. Rachel said she had a great time Saturday night. I was wondering if we could go out sometime. Aren't I a little old for you? I asked. Not at all. I prefer older guys. They're more mature, easier to get along with, she replied. Well, sure. How about this Saturday? Sure, she agreed. Where would you like to go? Anywhere. I'll let you decide. I'm flexible, she said with a laugh. We set a date for Saturday night, and Laura proved to be very flexible, introducing me to moves I'd never imagined. My Wednesday date with Megan was equally delightful, and like Rachel and Sarah, she said, I love how you make me feel. Sunday, Sarah invited me over for a home-cooked meal, a welcome change. I said yes, savoring the warmth of her kitchen and the ease of our connection. I was beginning to relish single life, each encounter a spark in the darkness. Monday night, Emily called, her voice dripping with anger. What the hell do you think you're doing? Sitting here watching TV? I replied, playing dumb. No, I mean you, a 40-year-old man, dating women 10 and 15 years younger than you. Don't you have any remorse? You must be talking about Rachel and Laura, I said calmly. Yes, of course, she snapped. They both asked me out, and I said yes. Dating's changed, Emily. I like not having to chase and risk rejection. It's nice to feel wanted, appreciated. Well, stop dating the people I work with, she demanded. Why would I do that? I asked, keeping my tone light. Because I said so. I don't have to do what you say anymore. We're not married. I'll date whoever I choose. You're only doing this to make my life harder, she accused. No, but if it does, it's a bonus. How does my dating them affect you? They whisper behind my back, saying, I can't believe she let him go. They're basically calling me an idiot, she confessed, her voice cracking. I thought, if the shoe fits, but instead said, I'll ask them to keep our activities private. Will that help? No, just stop seeing them, she demanded again. That I won't do unless they want to. I enjoy spending time with them. They make me feel young, boost my ego. You're an a-hole, she said, hanging up. I smiled, thinking of Rachel, Laura, Megan, and Sarah. Each one a balm for my wounded pride. Wednesday. I had another pleasant evening with Megan, her warmth and humor lifting my spirits. Thursday night, Emily called again. I muttered to myself, I haven't talked to Rachel or Laura yet, before answering. Yes, how can I help you? Rachel, Laura, and now the waitress at Murphy's too, she said, exasperated. Well, Megan's more age-appropriate, I teased. I don't want you dating young women. I thought you didn't want me dating at all. They keep asking why you let me go. Tell them someone else was more your style, more aligned with your ambitions, I suggested. She went quiet, then said in a low voice, I'll just tell them I was stupid. She hung up and I sat back, reflecting on our life. Emily and I had shared incredible moments, lazy summer evenings, the birth of our kids, stolen kisses during hectic days. But she'd started drifting when Tom was hired, maybe even earlier. Now, at least, she was showing remorse. Part of me was glad she felt foolish for throwing away what we had. But another part ached for the past, knowing it was gone forever. I couldn't wallow. I grabbed my keys and headed to the store for a case of Shiner Bock to drown my sorrows. As I left with the beer, Rachel called. What's up? Just bought a case of beer to chase away the blues, I said. Can I help with that? I'd love to cheer you up, she offered. Sure, you might be just what I need, Busk, I replied. We drank, laughed, and she expressed her delight multiple times, her presence a bright spot in my gloom. Around 2 in the morning, she said, I've got work tomorrow, so I'd better go. Oh, And thanks for mentioning something to Emily. But if you could keep tonight to yourself, I'd appreciate it. You've successfully banished my sadness? I said, grinning. Anytime, she replied. And I mean anytime. Over the next year, my circle of friends with benefits grew. Rachel, Laura, Sarah, and Megan all sought me out, drawn by word of my abilities. Each encounter was a pleasurable adventure, and I didn't turn any of them down. Emily called me a strumpet, but I didn't care. I loved bringing them joy, and each one at some point said, "I love how you make me feel." One evening at Murphy's, Emily approached me, her eyes softer than usual. "You know we were good together, James. Why not try again for old time's sake?" "It wouldn't be the same," I said gently. "Everything I did for you was out of love. Now we'd just be using each other." "I understand," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow, and returned to her table, her shoulders slumped. Finally, the day came when I was awarded the auto parts franchise. The owner stayed true to his word, offering a generous buyout. I took out a loan, but with business booming, I wasn't worried about repayment. I'd made the deal for financial stability for Emily and me. Now it was just for me. That evening, I called Emily and invited her to dinner at Boise's finest restaurant, arranging a car to pick her up. I told her to dress up, and when she arrived, she was radiant in a long, deep blue dress that highlighted her golden hair and blue eyes. I remembered why I'd fallen for her all those years ago. "You look stunning, Emily," I said. "You look dashing in that tuxedo, James," she replied, a faint smile playing on her lips. "What's the occasion?" "I'm celebrating, and I wanted you to be the first to know." "Now I'm curious," she said, her eyes bright with intrigue. "Let's enjoy our meal first," I suggested. As we ate, our conversation grew deeper, more reflective. Finally, she asked, "What are you celebrating?" "When we married, I was a mechanic. You seemed happy, but I felt stuck. When I told you about the franchise job for a flexible schedule, you blew up," I said. "I remember," she said, her gaze dropping to her plate. "I did it for our family, to make our lives better." "And I ruined it all," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I didn't bring you here to relive bad memories. Today I signed the paperwork to buy the franchise, 4 stores. This will ensure our children, Ethan and Lily, have a substantial inheritance. They can continue the business or sell it. And our grandchildren will benefit too. I can't tell you how happy that makes me," I said, my voice swelling with pride. She started to cry, her hands covering her face. "I listened to Tom when he called you a failure with no ambition. I lost faith in you and ruined everything. You were a great husband, father, and lover, and I threw it all away. I'm sorry, James. I hope you believe me. I'm sorry for everything that got us here," she said, her voice breaking. She stood, tears streaming, and headed for the bathroom, a server following to check on her. I'd wanted tonight to be a celebration of our children's future, not a reopening of old wounds. I felt a pang of sorrow for her pain, but knew I couldn't comfort her without blurring lines. When she returned, her eyes still red, I stood and said, "I've already paid the bill. I can take you home." "Thank you. I'm sorry I ruined your evening," she said, tears lingering. She cried quietly all the way back to her apartment. At her door, she looked at me, her eyes hopeful, as if inviting me in. "I'm sorry, Emily, but we can't go back there," I said gently. She nodded, her face crumpling, and closed the door. I stood there a moment, the weight of our past pressing down before walking away. The next couple of years were a whirlwind of business and new connections. Word of mouth spread, and I always practiced safety, keeping things light but meaningful. Emily and I talked occasionally, mostly about Ethan's engagement to Olivia Carter, whom he met at his auto shop. They clicked instantly, their love evident in every glance. On the day of their engagement party, I arrived early to help Ethan set up. We rented a room at a Boise Sheraton and ordered subs from a local Subway. As we finished, Emily arrived, still striking after all these years. "We never had an engagement party, James," she said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "No, but everyone we knew we were meant to be," I replied, keeping it light. "Do you remember proposing to me?" she asked, her eyes searching. "Yes, I do," I said, the memory bittersweet. Sometimes I wanted to hurt her for the pain she'd caused, but I held back. "I'm sorry," she said. "It's been 3 years. Can't we move on?" "Today's about Ethan and Olivia. Let's be cordial," I said firmly. "Maybe we could be cordial from now on," she said, her old demanding tone creeping in. Sometimes she seemed genuinely remorseful. Other times her temper flared, reminding me of the volcano I'd lived with. Guests arrived, and Ethan and Olivia greeted everyone with infectious joy. About 45 minutes in, I heard Olivia call, "Mom!" I turned to see a stunning woman in a floral sundress, her dark hair framing warm brown eyes and a smile that made my heart skip. "Dad, that's Olivia's mom, Sophia," Ethan said. "She's very religious and not into your lifestyle." "Before your mom, I was a one-woman man, Ethan. I want someone I can trust," I replied. "I don't know if she'd give you a chance, but I'll introduce you," he offered. He led me to Olivia and Sophia. "Mrs. Carter, this is my father, James." "Call me Sophia," she said warmly. Emily walked up, adding, "As long as he doesn't forget who his real mother is." Ethan introduced Emily to Sophia, and they hugged, striking up a conversation. I stepped away, not wanting to give Sophia a bad first impression, hoping for a chance to connect later. I mingled with friends and family, the men joking about my reputation with women. Some women kept their distance, but others were friendly, their smiles inviting. Emily approached a divorced woman, Tara, I was chatting with and warned, "You better be careful with him. You never know what you might pick up." I bristled but kept my cool. "Don't mind her," I told Tara. "She's just mad I'm not giving her any attention." "You're a creep, James," Emily snapped. "You're the one interfering in my conversations. Let's just be polite and keep our distance," I replied. Then to Tara, "Want to take a walk and talk privately?" I didn't plan to pursue anything with her that day, but I wanted to get away from Emily and maybe annoy her a bit. Tara and I talked for a while, then parted, promising to catch up later. About 2 hours into the party, I approached Sophia, steeling myself. "So you're the infamous James," she said, her tone carrying a hint of disdain. "I don't know what you've heard, but I'm Ethan's father," I replied, keeping it light. "Ethan seems like a fine young man. I hope he doesn't offend my Olivia," she said. "He's a fine young man who knows what he wants and works hard for it. He'll build his business and love Olivia deeply," I said proudly. "I hope he stays faithful," she said bluntly. "He will? You have nothing to worry about. It's going to be a church wedding, promises made before God and family," I assured her. "I've heard so many things about you," she said hesitantly. "We're going to be related. We should at least talk." "I think so, but this isn't the right place," she said. "Tomorrow's Sunday, and I'm going to church. Pick me up after and we'll go to Cracker Barrel." She gave me the details of her church in Meridian, and for the rest of the party we exchanged subtle glances, her curiosity about me palpable. Sunday morning I woke early, shaved, showered, and dressed in a sharp suit, driving to Sophia's church in Meridian. I arrived early and found a seat about a third of the way back. The sanctuary was different from the Catholic church of my youth. No stained glass, no altar candles, just a simple, raised platform with a plain cross. I felt out of place in my suit as people entered, chatting casually, holding coffee cups from nearby shops, dressed in jeans and casual tops. Despite my overdressed state, many greeted me warmly, making me feel welcome. I kept scanning for Sophia, wondering if I'd gotten the details wrong or if she was unwell. Then the minister announced the start of the service, and I saw her singing with the praise band, her voice clear and beautiful. During the third song, she noticed me and smiled, her warmth cutting through my nerves. After singing, she came over and sat beside me, which I appreciated, unsure of the service's customs. "I didn't expect you to come to the service," she said. "I feel a bit out of place, overdressed for the occasion," I admitted. "That's okay. You can take off your jacket if it makes you more comfortable," she suggested. I did, laying it on the bench, feeling a bit more at ease. "Thank you for sitting next to me," I said. "You're my guest. Of course I would," she replied. The service was different, lively, relaxed, but pleasant. Afterward, Sophia introduced me to the minister and several others as Olivia's future father-in-law, and I felt a quiet pride. At Cracker Barrel, we started with light conversation, but as we finished our meal, she got serious. "So, James, I've heard you're a womanizer who sleeps around a lot. What do you have to say for yourself?" she asked, her tone direct. "What's your definition of a womanizer?" I countered. "A guy who chases women, sleeps with them, then dumps them." "By that definition, I'm not a womanizer," I said firmly. "So what I've been told is a lie," she pressed, her eyes narrowing. "Let me explain. I was married to Emily, whom you met. We were together for over 25 years. She started cheating on me with her boss, and when I confronted her, she tried to harm me by setting my garage on fire. After our divorce, women approached me, curious because Emily had talked about my abilities in the bedroom. I didn't chase them. I just said yes. For the past 2 years, I haven't turned down any woman who asked me out. I enjoyed their company and aimed to make them feel special. If you think that's wrong, I'm sorry." She looked at me, vicious, suspicion softening. "So where do I fit in, James?" "You're a beautiful woman, Sophia. Like me, you've suffered. While I chose companionship to heal, you closed yourself off from men because of your husband's actions. I'm looking for someone to get to know better, maybe date exclusively. I'm a single man wanting to find someone to share my life with." "What about your ex-wife? Didn't she want to get back together?" "Forgiving is possible, but forgetting isn't. You can't forget what they did. You lose trust, and without trust, there's no relationship." "I understand," she said, her voice softening. "My ex wanted me to look past it and stay married, but I couldn't. My self-esteem took a hit, and I wasn't going to let any man hurt me again. We're similar in that way." "I'd like to get to know you better and see if there's a future for us," I said earnestly. "What about the other women?" "If we feel there's potential, I'd be happy to be exclusive with you." "Let me be upfront," she said firmly. "I'm not doing anything until I'm married. If we're going to date, you need to understand that." I grinned, relieved. "I dated Emily in high school and waited until we were married. I'm fine with waiting, Sophia." She looked reassured. "I appreciate your honesty, James. I think I like you. Let's see where this goes." For the next 4 months, we met at least twice a week, sometimes at her place in Meridian, sometimes at mine in Boise. During this time, I still saw other women, Rachel, Laura, Megan, but my interest in them waned. Tara, from the engagement party, wanted more than I was willing to give, and her compliments, once a boost to my ego, started to feel hollow. One night at dinner, Sophia told me she was ready to commit. "That makes me the happiest man on earth," I said, my heart soaring. "I love you, Sophia." She hesitated, then said, "I think I'm falling in love with you too. Please be patient with me." I was, both emotionally and physically, savoring the slow build of our connection. Then one day, Emily called. "Hi, James," she said, her voice tentative. "Hi, Emily. How are you? What can I do for you?" "Wow, you're in a good mood," she noted. Yes, I am. So what do you need? Why don't we have dinner sometime? I have something to discuss. Sure, how about tonight? I can bring some wine. No, I'd like to be alone with you. I'll make your favorite. Roast beef with vegetables. Can you come over around 7? Okay, I'll see you then. Need anything? Maybe some wine to go with the roast beef. I'll pick something up. See you tonight. I hung up, curious but wary. I called Sophia to let her know. It must be about the wedding next month, she said. She's probably trying to soften you up with roast beef. I'll call you afterward, I promised. At 7, I stood at Emily's door, butterflies fluttering in my stomach. We chatted through most of dinner, the familiar comfort of her cooking tugging at old memories. Then she revealed her true reason for inviting me. Ethan's wedding made me think about us, she said quietly, her eyes searching mine. There is no us, Emily, I said, keeping my voice steady. Ignoring me, she continued. Remember when we used to date and fool around? We were so young, so in love. Yes, we were, I agreed, the memories bittersweet. We were good together, weren't we? Yes, we were, I admitted. What happened to us? Life, I guess, I said, unwilling to shoulder the blame. I talked to Rachel at work. She said you were exactly what she needed, and Laura said you're no longer making the rounds. Maybe you're tired of playing around. I smiled, realizing neither Ethan nor Olivia had told her about Sophia. She mistook my smile for agreement. So maybe we should try again. You know we were good together. I cut her off gently. Emily, we were great together, but the key word is were. I need to forgive you. She smiled, hopeful, but I continued, I forgive you, but I can never forget what you did. You need to move on with your life. Her eyes filled with tears. Oh, James, I'm so sorry for what I did to you, to us. I really am. I know we can get over it. Let's try again. She wasn't giving up easily, but I had to be clear. I love someone else, Emily. Laura was right. I'm no longer playing around because I'm committed to someone. I've become a one-woman man again. She stared at me, stunned. Who is it? Sophia, Olivia's mom. Her shoulders slumped, the realization hitting her hard. We finished the meal in silence, the weight of our past heavy between us. As I left, I said, Emily, thank you for dinner and the memories. I know this isn't what you wanted, but you'll find someone. Love him with all your heart. I couldn't stay mad at her anymore. Sophia had helped me find forgiveness, just as she'd forgiven her own ex. Their betrayals had brought us together. Pulling away from Emily's apartment, I called Sophia. She wanted us to get back together, I said. I thought so, Sophia replied. She knows what she lost. Yeah, and I know what I found. I love you, Sophia, and I'm better for it. I love you too, James Thompson, she said, her voice warm and clear, the first time she'd said it out loud. It wasn't just words. She'd shown her love in countless ways, but hearing it felt like a gift. Ethan and Olivia got married in a beautiful church ceremony, and Sophia and I smiled, held hands, and danced the night away, our joy infectious. Some guests joked we looked like the wedding couple ourselves. Emily was there, but left early, likely unable to bear seeing us so in love. 3 months later, Sophia and I had a small, private ceremony at our church in Meridian, surrounded by close friends and family. Emily claimed a scheduling conflict, but I suspected she couldn't face my moving on. It took her a few years, but she eventually found someone new, and I hoped they'd build something lasting. On our wedding night, as Sophia and I lay together, she whispered, I love how you make me feel, James. This time, the emphasis was on love, and it filled my heart to overflowing.
Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more.